Good evening. Welcome to the New Haven Museum. I'm Margaret Ann Tarkashewski, the director, and we're so pleased to have you with us tonight. The New Haven Museum is a center for exploring the people, places, events, and ideas that have shaped and continue to define the Elm City. And we invite your participation always and hope you'll visit us often, especially if you're here tonight for the first time. Tonight's program, New Haven's 6 Degrees of Separation Through Music, was originally scheduled for March 2020. And then COVID shut the world down. So after 3 very long years, we were delighted that Dr. Berryman enthusiastically responded to our email about rescheduling. And when he told me recently that members of the chorale wanted to come and share their stories and some song firsthand, I was really thrilled. So thank you all for being here. I'm also very grateful to Charles Warner Jr., who's been a good friend to the museum and gave us the introduction to Dr. Berryman, and I'm hoping he'll come by tonight. And let me wish the chorale a happy birthday. I hear you're 25 this year. So there's been a great deal of publicity the last couple of weeks about tonight's program, so we're very grateful to Babs Rawls-Ivy, who's been a really good friend to the museum as well, for her interview with Dr. Berryman on the New Haven Independent Radio earlier this week, Tom Kuzer of WSHU Public Radio, and Channel 8's Ann Nyberg, if you caught all of that. If not, they're archived online, or you can go to our Facebook page. And we're happy to have Lucy Gelman from the Arts paper here tonight also. So anyway, Dr. Jonathan Q. Berryman is the founder and director of the Heritage Chorale of New Haven. He graduated with honors from Princeton University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in music. At Yale University, he earned a Master of Music degree in choral conducting and a certificate in sacred music studies from the Yale Institute of Sacred Music. He received a Doctor of Education degree at Southern Connecticut State University. While at Yale, he served as assistant conductor of the Yale Camerata. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Okay. In addition to directing the Heritage Chorale of New Haven, he serves in administration at Hill Regional Career High School and has taught music in the New Haven Public Schools for the past 25 years, including at Betsy Ross Arts Magnet School. And he's also Minister of Music at Messiah Baptist Church in Bridgeport. He's the recipient of the Arts Council of Greater New Haven's 2005 Award for Creative Collaboration and the Phenomenal Man Award from the New Haven alumni chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. Welcome, Dr. Berryman, and Heritage Chorale.
All right, let's see how I'm going to do this. So this is reminiscent for me of being at home and, with my family. And we would watch, I feel so old. We would take out the slide projector and view slides of family photos. Some of us might remember watching slideshows of family photos. So this is kind of what that's like. So what you're going to watch this evening is really, you're part of this exploration. As I was putting these slides together, and you see the title, 6 Degrees of Separation with the Heritage Chorale of New Haven. It was like going through a photo album that your family has left you. Some of us have kept programs. Do any of us have little memorabilia books of the things we've done? Many of us don't keep, and periodically you go through those books, and before you know it, a whole day has gone by. Because you're looking and reminiscing and thinking about all of the things that you have done over your lifetime. Well, putting these slides together has been one of those experiences. So I will, in full disclosure, this is far from complete. I said, you all don't have that kind of time. But I did put together a presentation that gives us at least a skeleton of what I would need someone who's writing a master's thesis or a dissertation to really complete. So since we're talking about music, we'll start with a clip. This is I Don't Feel No Ways Tired of the Heritage Chorale Singing.
Somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, everybody. Somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, oh my Lord. I am singing for a city. Hallelujah. I am singing for a city. Hallelujah.
I have forgotten about that song. That was me singing the lead. I did that? It was a much younger me. So the premise of 6 degrees of separation. So there's this theory that all people are 6 or fewer social connections away from each other. Have we heard of this? Yeah. We know about it. Some of us have even seen the movie. And when I think about it, it's that making music together in formal ensembles builds and strengthens community through connections. And then the Heritage Chorale of New Haven has facilitated direct and indirect links that have fostered a more tightly knit community in New Haven and beyond. So for me, these are my essential understandings of really the power of the Heritage Chorale of New Haven that I'm really still just beginning to unpack in my own mind of what it has meant to me and what it has meant to chorale members and what it has meant to the community. So to be clear, New Haven has a rich choral singing tradition. It existed long before I came to New Haven. And even this is just not even a snapshot, it's just a piece of a picture of what New Haven has had to offer. So every black church that I know of, if they didn't have, they had at least one choir that was soprano, alto, tenor, and bass that sang music, and many churches had more than one of those choirs. So that was part of the singing tradition in New Haven. And then there were a number of black community choirs that came before the Heritage Chorale of New Haven. If you've heard of these, raise your hand. The Salisbury Chorale, the Rock Hontus Chorus, the New Ensemble. If you sang in any of those, raise your hand. So we have people here who sang in those ensembles. And thanks to Bob Hancock, where are you, Bob? I saw you somewhere out there. There he is over there. He provided some pictures. Now, I hope this is right. I think it's the 1960s, yes? All right, so this is a picture of the choir from the Dixwell Avenue UCC church. So most churches along Dixwell Avenue had a choir that looked something like this. Barrett, Bethel, Emmanuel, St. Matthew's, Pitts Chapel, obviously Dixwell. This was a standard choir, and you could find it in just about any church in New Haven. And then thanks also to Bob, here's a picture of one of those community choirs that preceded the Heritage Chorale, the Rock Pontus Chorus. Bob, do you know what year this was? Do you know what year this was?
Late 40s.
So that's rich New Haven history. And like I said, long before I came to New Haven, long before I was born, actually. So the Heritage Chorale actually, it really it stands on the shoulders of this rich choral tradition that New Haven already had. And I think, well, I know for sure, that's what made the formation of the Heritage Chorale possible. So here are some degrees of separation. The New Haven Chorale wanted to do William Grant Stills, and they lynched him on a tree, which required a white choir and a black choir, singing about a lynch scene. And the first time I heard that, I was like, what? I said, such a piece exists? So I'm from Virginia originally. So I know that was not something that people were programming in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, nonetheless. So I had never heard of this piece. But Paul Mueller wanted to, and the New Haven Chorale had agreed that this was something they wanted to do. So Paul Mueller called me and asked if I could put together the black choir. I said, well, okay, possibly. So I had a conversation with attorney Herbert Scott, who had sung in the new ensemble, yes? And he had been talking to me about this group that he used to sing with and wanted to get back together and sing. And so I had a conversation with him, and then Herbert Scott made some phone calls. And we planned a date to meet, and I couldn't remember which Sunday it was, because, I had no idea it was going to be such a momentous thing 25 years later. Somewhere, probably in my notes, is a sign-in sheet. But I would have to really look throughout all of my stuff, because I declare my papers, eating my papers. So I know it was March 1998. That I remember. And I was living at 1 Brewery Square, apartment T103 in Fairhaven. And it was a beautiful place, beautiful space. So it had, the living room might have been, there was a part that was about this size, and another part where I had a grand piano that was about the same size. So when 30 people showed up in my apartment, I was overwhelmed, but there was room. So Paul Mueller called me, I called Herb Scott made some phone calls, and instant choir. I said, where did these people come from? And they could really sing. So about 30 singers attended the first gathering, and more joined them as we got started in this rehearsal. They heard about the project that Paul Mueller wanted to do. They were fascinated about it. They were interested in it. And Varick AME Zion Church, which is where I was serving as choir director and organist, became our first rehearsal home. And there she is. So just thinking about the connections there, we had somewhere to rehearse because I was working there. So in some ways, Varick is a mother of the Heritage Chorale, because we were not going to rehearse in my apartment for my neighbors to say he has to move. And I have Woolsey Hall first? All right, yes, so I can talk about Woolsey Hall. So the concert was going to be in Woolsey Hall. I had sung in Woolsey Hall before because of singing with Yale in the Camerata. But it had not dawned on me that other members of the chorale, though they grew up here or lived here, had not sung in Woolsey Hall. So the Heritage Chorale, in some ways, created a town-gown connection that did not exist before for black singers in New Haven. I said, So this is kind of the metacognitive process that I've been going through. So it was familiar to me, but for many of our singers, this was a first. To even have they may have gone to concerts in Woolsey Hall, but actually being on the stage, to look at it from this perspective, where you're on the stage looking out, that's very different than being in the seats looking up. So for some of us, that was a pivotal moment. And the inaugural concert was Sunday, January the 30th, 1999. And some of us probably know where these programs are. I have the poster of it framed in my house. Songs of the Journey featuring the New Haven Chorale and the Heritage Chorale of New Haven. Now keep in mind, we had no idea. This choir really formed to sing this concert. We had no idea that 25 years later we'd be here talking about this rich history of things that we've done. And that's a much younger me. And Paul Mueller, collaborating together. So, Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church became our second rehearsal and concert home for the Heritage Chorale. You say, why? Well, I became the director of music at Emmanuel Baptist Church. And the Heritage Chorale went with me, yay! So here's the Heritage Chorale of New Haven around 2001. And I know it was 2001 because of the choir logo looking like this. It was after that it changed. So Heritage Chorale members, you might want to sing along with this one. It is Black History Month, and I couldn't resist but to hear this clip played. See if you can keep up with yourselves. I've been given permission to be emasculated. Ah. Yes, so like I said, part of me was just sitting here reminiscing yesterday and putting these slides together and listening to clips. It was an event that didn't have to take all day, but I got lost in it all day. Here's a program from an event we had with the Yale Camerata and the Yale Pro Musica. One of the reasons I selected this is because we could see the names of who was in the chorale in 2001. If you're here and your name is up there, raise your hand. So we have quite a few people who've been in this group since its inception here in this room. And we will hear from them before, toward the end of this presentation. Here we are in 2004, still at Emmanuel. Notice how the choir loft looks different. That's why I said I knew this one was 2001, because it was shortly thereafter that Curtis McKinley Cofield retired, and the new minister who's still there, Samuel T. Ross Lee, came, and we decided that we needed to redo the choir loft. And it was a much needed redo. Yay, we look so much better without that railing. First in Summerfield United Methodist Church was a concert venue in our early days. So Doug Brown was the organist there at one point, and was a friend, and still a friend of mine to this day. But that was one of our concert venues. Patel Chapel, which is where these recordings came from, was an early concert venue for the Heritage Chorale. Many of us had been there, but had never had an opportunity to sing there. So once again, these town gown connections were being made. So our concert hosts, and I know I probably missed some, but there have been at least 22 of them in our 25 years. So the concert hosts to me are those people with who invited us to perform concerts with them. So Bethesda Lutheran Church is in the role, Coro Allegro in Boston, who after our initial concert with the New Haven Chorale called us and said, "We found out you all just sang and they lynched him on a tree, and the choir that was scheduled to sing with us backed out on us. Can you all come up to Boston and sing that piece with us too?" And we did. And then 20 years later, in 2019, we did it again. So that's been a beautiful relationship that we've had with them over these past 20 years. The Festival of Arts and Ideas. Some of us remember walking around the green with Neely Bruce, going in and out of churches. Neely Bruce created this piece called Convergence. And he was at, where are we in Middletown? Wesleyan. Organs playing, instruments playing, going in and out of churches. That was fascinating. Then in 2005, we were with the Brass Brothers. And some of us can talk about that. I think 4 from Norway and the drummer was from Sweden. Does anybody remember the Brass Brothers concert?
Yeah.
Okay, it was fascinating. The way they played their trumpets and instruments. Grace Baptist Church in Waterbury had us come and sing a couple of scholarship concerts for them. The Hamden Symphony Orchestra, we did a benefit concert with them. And some of the stuff I'd forgotten about until I was going through, the photo albums and the programs. I said, oh yeah, we did go up to the Capitol and stand around the edge and sing one year. In the year 2000. In the year 2000. Then Neely Bruce, I got a grant to go down to Lincoln Center and to do Convergence, and we were walking all around Lincoln Center with singing his music. The Milford chapter, the Lynx, had us come and sing a Martin Luther King tribute. This I truly forgotten about. We went to the Madame C.J. Walker Mansion in Tarrytown, New York, and sang very early in our career. Mount Olive AME Zion Church, Mount Zion Seventh-day Adventist Church. Now, Mount Zion, I think, was one of the first local churches to host us doing a service. Now, Aubrey, I can't remember the year. That's why it's not there. But somebody took a picture of me outside of the church when we were singing, and I have to look at the glasses I was wearing and figure out when I wore those. In 2003, we sang at the National Cathedral in D.C. as part of Connecticut Day. And the New Haven Chorale, I'm certain I've missed some of these, but we've been with them at least on 4 occasions. And we were actually planning something more, and we probably will with Ed, now that we're beyond, we're emerging from the COVID pandemic, I hope. We can talk, I will resume those talks. But Songs of the Journey certainly was our first concert, and then we've done the Duke Ellington Sacred Concert Series. And these other 2, Lift Every Voice and Sing and Sing for the City, were also events that we performed with them. And I have whole programs, but I said, y'all, you would think you were at the banging. I said, no, I can't do all of that. Now, the New Haven Symphony Orchestra, I'm on the board of the Symphony Orchestra now, and when I think about the fact that my memories of working with the new NHSO go all the way back to Young Hope Hop. Do you all remember Young Hope Hop conducting?
Yeah.
Okay. Because sometimes I say that and then people say, who? Yes. I accept the fact that I'm not as young as I used to be. So we've done quite a few things with the New Haven Symphony Orchestra. Once again, this idea of town and gown, is as much as the NHSO and the New Haven Chorale are part of the town, depending on what side you're looking at, they also are part of the gown. So these collaborations have been key in our history. The Newman Foundation, To Life, a gospel concert. SCSU, while Stanley Battle was interim president, we did a concert with their choir and Diane Bish, the organist. St. Bernadette's Catholic Church, I think that was early in our days, 1999. St. Luke's Episcopal Church, and I don't have dates because it's been more than one, and I had to go back and look and really dig and see. The town of Guilford, I know at least one performance I didn't make. We've sung there twice. Does anybody remember when? No, they don't remember the years either. But I know some of our members are sitting out there and they sang in those concerts. United Church on the Green with Mark Brumbaugh, the Waterbury Symphony Orchestra singing about Fortune's Bones. Yale University, the Duke Ellington Fellows Program, there was a Lift Every Voice and Sing celebration. And that was the first time I'd ever seen Carmen de Lavalley. And I remember looking at her, and every motion she made meant something. I said, now, that's dance. The Institute of Sacred Music in both of these concerts was sung with Maggie Brooks at the helm of the Yale Camerata, Up With a Shout and Hymn Festival. So those were at least the organizations I can remember, 22 of them. Then the Heritage Chorale itself had its own concert series. So those were the ones we just saw were the ones we were invited to sing, right? These are the ones that we sponsored. So we were sponsoring a December concert, a February concert, and an April concert back when I was much younger. And then it became December and April. But Bible Gospel Center became our third rehearsal home. And that is where we are currently rehearsing. And here's a picture of the Heritage Chorale around 2008 in Bible Gospel Center. If you're in this picture, raise your hand. All right. Bethel AME Church became another one of our concert venues. Yes, so, and then here is another clip of the Heritage Chorale singing with Gregory Hopkins, who is a fantastic musician out of Philadelphia. Well, I knew him from Philadelphia. He's been in New York for a number of years. He sang in my degree recital. He sang this piece, I Would Lift Up Mine Eyes, in my degree recital, and then came back to sing it with the Heritage Chorale. Here's just the first movement of it.
reason, thy
So in our concerts, there are a number of supporting artists and organizations, and I've listed at least 39. Lawrence Bagwell, conductor; Luther Blackwell, tenor; the Bass Clef Chorale, which our member Aubrey Tompkins conducted; Betsy Ross Arts Magnet School; Bethel AME Church; Bethesda Lutheran Church; Bible Gospel Center; Douglas Brown, who's the organist at First and Summerfield; Eric Brown, the son of Carol Brown; tenor; Jessica Kane, the granddaughter of Aubrey Tompkins, one of our members; Sherry Caldwell, dancer, and she was a co-worker of mine; Cooperative High School for the Arts and Humanities, Miss Harriet Alfred, who sings with us, is their conductor; Tiffany Davis, who was my student, and then Miss Alfred's student, phenomenal soprano; Dixwell Avenue United Congregational Church; the ERB Praise Connection of Emmanuel Baptist Church; Dana Fripp, who is a phenomenal soprano; Dr. Charles Garner, who is playing in these recordings; Darius Good, the son of Pastor Glenn Good, who sings with us. He's been our drummer. Michael Gordon, trumpeter; Justin Green, violinist; Gregory Hopkins, who just sang on that last piece, tenor; Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church; Tiffany R. Jackson, who is now Dr. Tiffany R. Jackson, who sung with us on a number of events; Sherry Lucas, organist; Harris Mann, dancer; Living Water, which is a singing group from Yale; Kirsten Stevens, violinist, who I met as a teenager and is now working for the Apollo; Paulette Thompson Clinton, who is one of our members, who was, also was a cellist for us; Dr. Patrice E. Turner, who is the minister of music at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, the church Dr. King used to pastor. She was a workshop clinician for us. St. Luke's Episcopal Church's liturgical dancers; St. Luke's Episcopal Church's steel band; Stephen Wilder, who I met at Yale and was a New Haven Public School tenor, New Haven Public School music teacher, who came in and sang tenor for us; Union Baptist Church in Stamford under the direction of Louis Gibson; the Unity Boys Choir under the direction of Lily Perkins; Barrick AME Zion Church; Malcolm Welfare, who we first discovered in, he was a treble when I first heard him singing in Hannibal's African Portraits, 50-50-50-50-50. We sang that piece for the docking of the Amistad when it was first built. Not the original, the remake. So he was a treble when I met him, and then he came back and sang with us again as a full-grown man, a baritone. Wexler Grant School, under the direction of one of our members, Jaminda Blackman; Wilbur Cross High School Choir, under the direction of Danielle Story Carson; and Dr. Raymond Wise, who was a workshop clinician for us. Dixwell Avenue UCC has been a concert home for us, and a workshop venue for us. Here's the Heritage Chorale singing at Dixwell Cherica 2019. Pre-pandemic. Yay! Then here are just some, like I said, I couldn't do it all, but this is a flyer of a Young Hope Pop conducting the NHSO. You see him over there by Martin's ear. And we can tell just how much word processing has changed. This was a program from 2001. I don't even know that we had email when we started. And I assure you, Herb Scott and I had a conversation on a landline. Center with the Symphony, and there's a program for that. Arts and Ideas, and here members of the Heritage Chorale, once again. Many some of them are here, some of them have moved, some of them have been called From Labor to Reward. And it's fascinating to look and see. Here is the program from the James Weldon Johnson event that we did in 2008. And I just wanted to give you all a smattering of what some of these programs look like over the years. So during COVID, we stopped rehearsing. That should come as no surprise, right? However, many of us know that this idea of the virtual choir arose. So the Coro Allegro, our dear friends in Boston, gave us an opportunity to participate in a video where we were talking about still the impact of N.A. Lynchdom on a truth. So this is a video that we did singing an arrangement of a William Grant Still piece with Coro Allegro. So at this time, I'd like to open the floor to members of the Heritage Chorale who are here to share their stories and experiences of connection. And to talk about what the chorale has meant to them in terms of
how it has connected them to places, to people, to events that have shaped them. And we'll do like a church, you have 2 minutes. Please keep your remarks to 2 minutes. Comment at will.
Okay. Hello.
And state your name.
Okay. I am Harriet Alfred. I am one of the original Heritage Chorale members. And I was in that apartment. And I too found it amazing that there were so many people that hungered to come together and make Jonathan's vision of keeping music that is traditionally of the Black church alive. And I tell people all the time, I might not be a great visionary, but if I see somebody with a vision, I'll get on board. And I did. And without being a part of this organization, I would never have had the opportunity to meet so many other people in the community, sitting right here, that had the same desire and same love and passion for singing. I don't think I'd ever had the opportunity to sing in the cathedral had it not been for the Heritage Chorale. Working with such a fine conductor as Jonathan, I was able to hone in on some of his craft and still a little bit, because I do what he does. So I teach music in New Haven, for those of you who don't know me. So, and I helped him out too in some of the rehearsals, which was engaging. And so this choir has been a wonderful experience in my life, because without music, I don't know, that's just such a part of me in my existence. And I am grateful that Jonathan had this vision, opened his doors, and allowed us to come. I've been to Boston, I've been to DC now, I've been to Hartford, I've been to Bridgeport, and just have gone everywhere in this area and abroad, and have met some wonderful people with the same passion. And I would not trade it for a thing. So thank you, Jonathan. Wait, oh, Daddy.
Well, my name is Aubrey Tompkins, and I have been one of the charter members of this group, which I love. As Miss Harry had mentioned, I was in the apartment too as well. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and I came to New Haven because of the Army. The Army sent me here as a medic in West Haven, Orange. It was a missile site back in 1959. And I finished Lamont College in Memphis, Tennessee, and I sang in the college choir. Lo and behold, when I joined this group, we will sing some of the same songs. Soon Will Be Done, Glory in Excelsis, Parts of the Messiah, Member of the Mount Zion Seventh-day Adventist Church. Well, we love good music. And of course, we feel that Jonathan is one of our members now because he plays the organ at our church, as Miss Harriet mentioned. When I was in the Army, there was a special services, and they got us tickets. So I've been going to Woozy Hall since 1959. And I was wondering, how did it feel to be standing on that grand stage looking at this grand audience? I love music, and I went to Boston and also went to Washington, D.C. And I did have a males group called Bass Clef Chorale, and we were invited to sing, and we enjoyed our singing. Jonathan has been a very inspirational to me. We have had several guest organists at our church. I hate to say it, but he's my favorite. The reason why he's my favorite, he can play anything, the classical, the gospel, the jazz, whatever. He can play it. And he can do it from memory. I don't understand how he can pick up this music because he didn't have the music in front of him. He just went out and did it. Also, he's a great musician because he can sing very well. You heard him singing a while ago. But I just want to say the Lord gave Jonathan to New Haven. And the members of the choir I had known before we joined this choir. I sang in the new ensemble. This is a choir that Herb Scott, Natalie Douglas, Dr. Ernestine Kirkland, we all sang together. We picked some of these songs up. So I'm going to stop now because I can go on and on. So thank the Lord for Jonathan.
Good evening. My name is Jaminda, and I am, I guess, one of the newer Innocent members. I'm only about 18 years in versus their 25, so I'm a little newer. In regards to connection, I definitely share the same experiences with Harriet and with Aubrey. But for me, the connection that I find probably, not to say like the biggest one, but I reconnected with my parents. So as a child, my parents always sung in the house. I always sung with them. And in that, I became more of a musical theater performer with a huge classical background. When I first heard the Heritage Chorale sing, I actually breathed for the first time in I don't know how many years, because you just don't hear singing like that, especially with people who look like us. So growing up, when I'm trying to find choirs or places, not theater, to sing in, it was nearly impossible because no one looked like us. So I joined the Heritage Chorale, which was great, and then my parents joined. So for the first time in my life, I was actually to share my music with them. So that connection with the Heritage Chorale made me reconnect to my parents in a very different way than I never would have since then. And then that's been 18 years, and my parents are only about 15 years in, and now they're retired. But the cool thing out of that is like now my mom comes to me for lessons because she wants that kind of sound in her. So the Heritage Chorale has helped me immensely. But the connection for me that's probably the biggest is the reconnection to my parents with my music. Thank you for that.
My name is Joyce Patton. I am an alto in the Heritage Chorale. I am one of those people who was sitting in the living room that day at Jonathan's house, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But it has been a wonderful and exciting venture. The Heritage Chorale, I got to know Jonathan because he started playing. He was a musician at my church, which is Barrack Amy Zion Church in New Haven on Dixwell Avenue. And that's how I got to know him. And my sister and he were friends, God rest her soul. And so they were real close. And then I came in and I kind of took away from that. But we have been friends for how many years? 20-something?
I'll let you tell it.
Long time. But anyway, this has been the best experience I've had for singing since I left high school in South Carolina. I am very happy to still be a part of this. And when COVID came, I was really upset because I didn't get to sing. So one day I was sitting in the house, I said, can I still sing? But what happened, I went to a church with my pastor's wife, and they were singing a song that I knew. So I said, let me try this. And I did, and I said, oh, I still have my voice, praise the Lord. But anyway, This has been the most wonderful experience of my life. And I love to sing. I've been singing since I was about 4 or 5. Praise God.
Good evening. My name is Mary Freeman, and I wasn't at his apartment, but I was at the first rehearsal venue at Varick. And the reason I attended is because my mother and my godmother were members. And my mother said to me, she called me and said, there is this group, and I think you would really like it. So I attended, and it was the most wonderful experience, and I loved all the challenges. My mother and father were both members of Salisbury and the Rock Chorus in New Haven, and both of them sang all their lives. My mother was in a group in high school, and my father, his whole family sang. And my cousin, who wasn't able to attend tonight, Alita Staten, she is also a member of the Heritage Chorale. So it is something that I continue to enjoy, and I hope we will be in existence for quite a few years more.
Hello, my name is Judith Hilton, and I also am an original member of the Heritage Chorale. My husband had died a few years before the Heritage Chorale started, and I like Joyce said, I've been singing since I was a wee babe. My family used to say, she's singing again, Ma, tell her to stop singing. They didn't like it. And I still sing all the time while I'm home and washing dishes and whatnot. I had a family who appreciated my singing, my 4 children. But the Heritage Chorale, when it came into being, was a great filler in my life. I wasn't lonely because I was so involved in Varick. When Jonathan, I met Jonathan, he was playing the organ. It was like, was that your very first time sitting at that organ, or?
Probably.
And I didn't realize we had someone new, and I met Jonathan there, and we became friends. And I'll tell you, I just have always loved music. And I attended St. Luke's Church before when I was a young girl, and we always had great musicians. And so music was very important to me. I can remember when I was a little girl, I could whistle so good. I could whistle better than I could sing. But the Heritage Chorale has been a part of my life, a very significant and important part of my life. It kept me going. I also found a very good voice coach, and I had her for 11 years. I would look forward to going to see her every Thursday for those 11 years after my husband died. And music has been a part of me all my life, but significantly since I started taking singing lessons and singing with the Heritage Chorale. I'm thankful. I'm so thankful to the Lord because He found a way for me to fill some of the emptiness. So.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janet McCray. I'm singing alto in Heritage Chorale. When I don't remember the very first time I heard Heritage Chorale, but when I heard the music, I said, I know that stuff. I want to sing with them. I'm originally from New York, and when I was younger, I sang with a choir, and the director used to do this, all types of music. Come to find out, when I moved here, speaking of 6 degrees of separation, I met Brother Tompkins. Brother Tompkins knew the director of the choir that I was in New York. And then also, when I relocated to New Haven, I met Harriet. Okay, so there was a whole lot of different connections. And then, I don't remember the year, but one concert I went to in New York was because my aunt came up with her choir from Washington, D.C. And Jonathan wound up sitting next to my uncle. So I went to New York to this concert with my aunt's choir from D.C. and I opened the program, and whose name is there but Jonathan Cuban. I'm like, oh, I know him. Come to find out, conversations later, that he had met my uncle the night before. So just to know that music brings people together in so many ways. And through being a part of Heritage Chorale, I was exposed to the Camerata. I got a little bit more chutzpah to direct Eternal Praise because of the leadership of Jonathan and Harriet. And so I'm just grateful that the Heritage Chorale is here because it preserves a part of Black history that's very dear to me, having been a singer with this different types of genres of music. So I thank God for Jonathan, and I thank God for all my friends at Heritage Chorale. It's been wonderful.
Good evening, I'm Valerie Parks, and I'm a shy soprano. I did not attend the original meeting, but someone who did attend called me soon afterwards, Ernestine Kirkland, and voluntold me and told me what I was going to be doing. So I followed her instructions and attended the first rehearsals and haven't stopped. I have to say that I admit to being kind of addicted to music. But I also have to say that I don't read music, but singing with the Heritage Chorale has not, let's see, I don't feel like I'm lacking because I don't read music. I have to say that I pick some people's brains and harass them to attend rehearsals to make things better for me. Harriet, we're looking for you to return. And I make it a habit to sit near the piano so I can hear something clearly. Judy and others mentioned the void that the music fills. I have to agree with that. I can't imagine what my Mondays would be like without the Heritage Chorale. And I think that most of my family, most of my church family, most of my sorority sisters, and anyone who's looking for me knows not to call between 6 and 8 on Mondays. I value my experiences with the music. And I love that I've been able to introduce the music to friends who might not have appreciated it as much as I do as well. And so as I said, I'm addicted to music and I love the Heritage Chorale.
My name is Richard Ford, and I came to the Heritage Chorale in year 4, I believe it is, 2003. It's sort of an interesting connection. I met my wife, who was a longtime employee at Yale, who sang in the Yale Camerata. In fact, before I even moved to New Haven, I was singing in the Camerata. And from that meeting, Diane told me about the Heritage Chorale, Jonathan Berriman, who was assistant conductor at the Camerata. And so I joined in 2003 the first month I moved here, I joined the Heritage Chorale, which in some ways was the culmination of a lifelong journey of singing. I've been in some fabulous singing groups. I was in the Ohio State University Chorale that went to the choral convention in New Orleans in 1980 under the conductor of Robert Shaw, sang under his baton. I've had the privilege of being the opening singer for the Hawkins family back in 1980 when they came to Ohio State. And throughout my journey of music, singing tenor and bass, sometimes in alternate measures, depending on what's needed, I found Heritage Chorale is sort of the culmination of the richness of culturally, musically, artistically, just the pinnacle, which I feel grateful as I continue in aging to be able to share this beautiful chorale. Thank you.
Anybody else?
My name is Carol Pollard. I've been addicted to the Heritage Chorale. I'm not a member, but I am a supporter of this group. I love God gave all of them beautiful voices, especially the Messiah. I just love it, and my heart goes out to all of you, and I love you.
Good evening. I'm Valerie number 2 in the Heritage Chorale, but we bid for first place sometimes together. And I want to say I'm one of the originals, although I too was not at the apartment. I met Jonathan at church when we were at Varick together. Through Brother Tompkins, who invited me to join the group because he knew my love for music, and especially the project that Jonathan put together to have the sacred music from old times to be restored and reheard again. And in my home, I have to say a little bit, I grew up in a musical family. My mom sang with the choir at, oh my God, I'm having a brain burp, sorry, I'm having a senior moment. At Emmanuel Baptist Church in her youth, she sang soprano with that facility. My father was a musician as well as self-made service person. He was in sales and service, electronics and TV. Many years ago, he was also honored by Connecticut Magazine as the best repairer in Connecticut of sales and service of television electronics. So we had one of the first TVs, color, through my dad. But my dad had a group. My dad was opening act and sometimes band for the Five Satins, later Freddie Paris and the Restless Hearts is my dad. He had a group, Alan the Dynamics, some of you may know that from years ago. And I was a roadie with my dad as well as my sister at the time. And wherever they went, we went. And we had a wonderful time meeting all kinds of famous people I can still remember in this time of my life. But it was a wonderful experience. The backstage with all the food and the kind stage mothers that took care of us along the way. It was wonderful. But when I joined the Heritage Chorale, oh my gosh, I was like just lifted. It just did so much for me and for my ego and for my self expression. I too was a shy person all along, but just having that music, it just touched my soul and it just brought something out of me, and I enjoyed it so much. And I love enjoying working with Jonathan because he is something else. You have to come to rehearsal. He loves eating, so everything we did wrong or whatever, when you're making soup, you gotta put in this. He always had something. And Valerie Parks, my other partner, Valerie, we would always write down, what did he say? We would write it down. And one day we're going to publish a book, the Book of Jonathan, we're going to call it. It's been a blessing to me to have all the friends. I love Heritage because we're a myriad of people of all faiths, but we come together because we all love Jesus and we want to make it to heaven. And this is a taste of heaven to me, to have all of us come together and sing the beautiful music, the sacred music that we sing. And it's all due to Jonathan, and I hope we do too, be here for many, many more years under your tutelage, because I do love you greatly. Thank you.
And Bob, you might as well make your way to the front. Right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Geraldine Cotton. I don't have a music background. I don't come from a musical background. However, I knew Jonathan because he played at our church, and I like to sing in the choir. I don't read music, but I do say that the Heritage Chorale has become my family because they never made me feel less because they went to school for music and I didn't. They helped. And I don't feel intimidated when I sing with them, and I just love it. And I thank Jonathan for giving me the chance.
My name is Bob Hancock. I have been involved with music almost all of my life. My father sang bass in the Rock Honors Choir. I sang baritone with the Dixwell Congregational Choir. My mother sang soprano. There is a tenuous relationship between the Heritage Chorale and myself through Mary Freeman. She and I went to the same small 2x4 college in Ohio, which was predominantly white, and we were sticking out like sore thumbs. I was a member of the Glee Club, there, the men's Glee Club. I was the only black member. I showed a picture of the Glee Club to Jonathan, and he said, "Where are you?" I have sung with a number of great people, especially here in the chorale. It's been a pleasure. I'm not an original member, but for some time I had someone staring at the back of my head, and I turn around and there was Jonathan. He's trying to figure out, why was I singing with this choir, but I wasn't singing with Heritage Chorale? He could be very embarrassing. I was originally a theater major at the Defiance College in Defiance, Ohio, but due to racism in the theater department, I changed to biology. I think the theater component is the reason why I went into broadcasting. After I graduated, I seriously considered about trying to get another degree in music. The United States Navy got in the way. I am very happy to have been a member of the Heritage Chorale, and I hope to be around, and I hope Jonathan is around for some time so that this relationship can continue for a number of years. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Foster. I'm not a beginner. I didn't start, I should say, at a young age with Jonathan. I waited until my husband was about ready to leave, and then I joined. Anyway, I grew up in Emmanuel Baptist Church, and my dad was an usher, so he would bring me to church all the time, and they had me sitting on the pews, and so they started a children's choir, and that's where I began. I was Mildred, was with me when I was sitting. Marjorie Mitchell, that was her name. Anyway, she started the children's choir, and so she had me singing there. There was quite a few of us, and we used to have these little, white things that they throw over you with a scoop neck, and so that's where I began singing. And then when I went to high school, I joined the choir there. And Miss Cipatella had me in her chorus, and there was a kind of a competition between myself and another singer. And so at the time I was taking voice lessons, and his name was Tom Clancy. And I took lessons for about 3 or 4 years. I used to pay for them myself out of my babysitting money. And I did have piano lessons first. That's the way I was started off. And that didn't go over but so long. But music has always stayed with me, especially the for vocal. Excuse me. I had a very high soprano voice and everyone just enjoyed it. But through the years, I sang with the Rockhaunted Choir. What was the other ones you mentioned? Salisbury first, then Rockhaunted it was. Because we sang there as a couple. And later, as I said, I did a couple community choirs, but it didn't last long. I did one at the Whitney Avenue, the Congregational Church there, I can't remember.
Church of the Redeemer? Church
of the Redeemer, yes. I sang there with their choir that they had a couple of times with my husband. But I later had a problem with my voice. I lost it by having a thyroid that was choking me, and I didn't realize that. So I had to take a sabbatical from Jonathan's group for about a year and a half because I had to learn to talk all over again. But I have a voice, thanks to the good Lord. And I sang at the Congregational Church. I was at Mount Zion, but one of the directors wouldn't let me really sing. So I decided, well, there's other people that want me. So I left and went to the Congregational Church. And then later I returned back to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But I really enjoy music. I tried to get my grandson to sing with us, but he did 1 year. And my children didn't sing at all. I tried to get my daughter, she which I just lost her in January. But both my children, I made sure they had some kind of music background. And they started off with piano, then they both went to different instruments along with it. But I only learned to play the piano and used my voice. Thank you.
And I know, yes, come on up. I said, I know we weren't scheduled to go this long, but it's interesting to hear. Like I said, you all are part of what we're still discovering. You're hearing this for the first time, just like I am.
Well, I think I'm the last one, so usually I end up with the choir. I close out in prayer. So maybe this is the closing. But my name is Gwen Good, and I have a love for music. I was raised in Detroit, and in Detroit, I was chosen in elementary school to be a part of special ability singing, where they selected only 1 to 2 children out of all the schools in the Detroit area, and we would come together and rehearse once a week, and then in May we would do a concert. When I moved here at 15 years of age and I went to Hill House High School, when I graduated, I was selected to get the award for music for my graduation class. My music teacher when I was in Detroit was Mrs. Dixie. My music teacher here at Hill House was Dr. Charles Garner. And so I have just loved singing. Been a part of choirs and all of that, St. Matthew's Church and all. But I was missing the singing that I did in school. And I had joined another choir, but that didn't really work out. I only was there about a year. And then one day, Deborah Dozier, who was a member of our church, she came to me because she had just joined Heritage. And she said, you know what? Now, she knew nothing of me having a desire to be a part of a choir like this. But she just said, I think it'd be something that you would like, you would enjoy. And so I came, enjoyed it, has loved it, and I'm trying to remember what year I started. I'm looking at a picture there now. It looked like I may have been in that picture in 2001. I don't know, I had to be a little closer. I didn't have my glasses on, but I was trying to remember what year. But anyway, I have enjoyed it the whole time, and I'm so thankful for the choir and all the members. I just appreciate all the people in our sharing. I was coached to come up here. That's why I'm here. So thank you.
You are in that picture.
2004.
You're there in 2001. That's you. You're standing right in front of Judy. Now, so the next slide is actually questions. I know it's while we're here, because you're part of this grand experiment as we further flesh out this history. I should say questions and other things you might want to know. Yes.
When do you plan to have your next concert?
That is an excellent question. So part of it is we just started rehearsing again in January. So we are looking at one, who are we, and even in terms of rebuilding, where do we find the voices that we need? Because like we said, some people have moved away. It's been 3 years. Some of us have been in a house, and some of us have been moving to new houses. And even just looking at how to, well, part of our job is how to build an audience. But what we have talked about doing is doing some choir workshops, because a lot of churches still haven't brought their choirs back. So offering just what the Heritage Chorale members have helped me to understand is how many people really miss singing. And I think our first job is just to provide an opportunity for people to just come sing. So that's one of the things we're talking about.
But understand, those who don't sing love hearing the heritage.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so we love singing. And so there's that two sides. The people who want to sing, they need somewhere to sing and somewhere, and people who like to hear it need an opportunity to hear it. So you're helping us plan what that's going to look like. So I thank you all for your time, your attention. Thank you to the New Haven Museum, to Margaret Ann, to Julie, to Patrick over here, to the members of the Heritage Chorale for sharing your stories, and certainly to all of you for coming out to be a part of this, because nothing is complete without the audience to help you to think about what just happened. Like I said, I didn't pay anybody for what they said. But I thank you all. And certainly, I think I said in one of those interviews that Julie helped set up in preparation for this, that I know for me, in being a transplant from somewhere else, that the Heritage Chorale has been part of my being connected to this place known as New Haven. And most of my family is still in Virginia, and I do have relatives here. But the Heritage Chorale has truly become my music family. And there is no question about whether or not they have made a difference in my life, both in terms of the music making and in terms of the personalities. So there's something about being connected to people. So this whole thinking about it has helped me to understand that places are much easier to live in when you're connected to people. Right? It's not always about the employment. It's not always about the house you live in. It's about who you're connected to. And once you are connected to people, once you have solid relationships, and it goes beyond their personalities, and those of us who sing know it. You know people's voices. You don't even have to be in the room. You can tell who that is singing. Even in listening to the recordings. That's why I didn't even look for videos, because I knew when the Heritage Chorale members probably would have the same experience that I did in listening to those recordings again. So I can hear certain voices, and some of them are no longer with us. So that opportunity to reminisce, and in listening to my voice, I said, gee, I was young. It's like looking into a mirror of 25 years ago. But I thank you all. Thank you for making this experience a meaningful one in your presence. And as you have questions and things that still make you go, please feel free to ask. Thank you all.
Wanted to thank everybody for coming out tonight and for sharing. This has been a wonderful evening. I love hearing about the history, and I hope you will come back and perform. We'd like to do that. So anyway, safe travels tonight. We'll get it.